Your longtime protege, your friend Arn Anderson. That was a shoot. It happened on TV, but that's real life. All those things that Arn described happened
Yeah,
to him,
yeah.
and he retired. What did you think watching it back?
Oh gosh, I mean, I remember the first time I watched it, and I said, it's great, and it was great television, but it was the truth. That's the other thing. It's like a lot of the things that happen in our business, obviously, is it's sports entertainment, but I mean that really happened to Arn, and he had to lay it down. I made a promise to myself when I stepped into that ring that I would not, I'm not going to stay too long. I'm not going to be one of those guys who stays till they're 50 years old and they don't look like they used to look anymore. And it's kind of embarrassing sometimes to see those guys. I said, when I turn 40, physically, I'm done. In other words, I'm not going to physically wrestle after the age of 40. And I did. I stopped. And that's when I started being a manager and a commentator. So it was different for Arn, and if what happened to Arn had happened to me, um, I don't know. I mean, the other thing, but the other thing that I was dealing with was like a vertebrae in my neck. I think C5 and C6. I started having. It's like I would take a bump. I'd do a flat back bump in the ring, and this pain would shoot down my arm. Where did that come from?
Hmm.
Well, what I realized after seeing a doctor or whatever, I realized it was coming from my neck. And so the same thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many wrestlers retired early because of that same thing. Because when you take a bump in wrestling, you're flat backing, and what's taking the most, I guess, you know, not pounding, but the jolt of the primary part of the body that's taking that impact is right across the top of your shoulders.
Hmm.
Right across the top of your shoulders is where your neck meets you know, and a lot of time C5, C6. Jake had this.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing.
Jake
So
went through it. Arn is, and so I mean, you guys are in a unique position. I mean, you more so than Jake, because Jake continued on for many years. But what is it like when you step out of the ring? Because you and Arn both had been wrestling for years and years and years at this point, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I'm still gonna be in wrestling, but I'm not stepping into the ring anymore. Like, what's that like? Is it difficult to come to terms with that?
it was a little bit because it's kind of like I was used to be. Well, I don't want this to sound like bragging, but I was used to being a main eventer.
Yeah.
And I know that I earned that. I earned that spot. I worked my rear end off it. Like Kurt Hennig and other guys. I grew up in the business. Our fathers were wrestlers before us, and so it was a to step out and now be like a spectator more or less. I mean, even though I could referee, and I did that a little bit, but not so much. I mean, I'm not a referee, like a manager. I became a manager.
Hmm.
That was the step down for me, was to be a heel manager, and of course I was happy to do it because it was still doing. I was still active in the wrestling business. So
Still performing, yeah, so it
yeah,
probably scratches the itch to a degree. Arn started out, in 1982, as a wrestler, and, again, he credits it, and you've said it here yourself, he credits you as a huge influence on him in his early days in wrestling. What was it that you saw in Arn early on that made you say, like, "Arn Anderson, I wanna help this kid out?"
well, it's kind of like it's the one thing that I've said. I say it time and time again. You can be, you can really be, in other words, you can get in the ring and you can do all the moves right, and and you look good and what have you. But and you can be the same way as a musician. But the intangible is what we call charisma.
Hmm.
You can't teach it to anybody. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't have charisma, you're never going to go anywhere. And you may stay on the bottom of the card for all you know. It's like I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Great guy, big guy. Oh shoot, I can't remember his name. Saved my life now.
Mm.
But and he was real funny about he did everything the same way. The way he packed his bag and unpacked his bag. It was real. I can't Mike. So I can't remember his last name now.
Iron Mike Sharp.
Mike Sharp. Mike Sharp. There's a guy. Now Mike was okay, as you know, and he could wrestle, but he was never going to get out of the opening match because he didn't have that spark. You understand where I'm coming from?
It's not enough to be big and to be a good
Yeah,
hand. You've also got to have it.
yeah. And it's like it's like like so. Let me see. Okay, who do I know that's a good friend that has an overabundance of charisma? Ric Flair.
He's got it.
I love Rick, man. I love him, but oh my gosh, it's like I think with Rick, he just doesn't know when to turn it off.
He's always the nature boy.
I don't think he ever turns it off.
And so you saw those qualities in a young Martin Lundy all those years ago, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. That's what it is. You either have it or you don't. And I saw it. I saw it in Marty. He definitely had it.
Now you mentioned Ric Flair there, and I'm sure you saw him in the background, very, very emotional during that retirement speech, and it was an emotional moment. This man's
Yeah,
career is ending prematurely. It's awful.
yeah.
What did you think of the speech overall?
Well, I mean, I thought it was good. I thought, well, it's heartfelt. I mean, it's one thing to get out there and do a promo for a match. He wasn't doing a promo for a match. He's telling the whole wrestling world, I have to retire.
Hmm.
And so obviously I thought he did a great job, and it hurt me that he had to retire so young because I mean he had it.
Yes.
Oh gosh, Arn was great. So
Even when you look at some of his final matches from around that era,
yeah,
he dude can go, and he looked great. Like to your point, he had the charisma. He also had a great look. He was a big man. He could work like nobody else. He was a great bump taker. Like he had every quality you'd want in a wrestler. So yeah, just awful to see him have to go so young.
yeah, really sad.
Now, it does make me wonder, Ted. Do you wish that you had had some kind of a retirement speech of some sort following your in-ring career? Or were you satisfied not getting one?
I was satisfied. It's like it's kind of like because I really it's one thing to I don't know retire. I never felt like I was retiring. I was just retiring from being in the ring